And we start right now with a Fox News alert. The United States is now enforcing President Trump's reciprocal tariffs on dozens of countries around the globe.
The president says America is in the driver's seat and that Japanese and South Korean officials are set to fly in to try to cut trade deals.
So the new tariffs, which went into effect just after midnight, include a 104% duty on China total, 20% over the fentanyl trafficking, 30% over the reciprocal tariffs, and an additional 50% added after Beijing announced 34% counter tariff on U.S. goods.
So the president says that the U.S. is taking in $2 billion a day from the highly tailored reciprocal tariff deals. Lucas Tomlinson joins us live with more. Good morning, Lucas.
Well, good early morning, Lawrence. And guys, prices are expected to rise as these new tariffs were launched beginning at the stroke of midnight last night. The U.S. government began collecting tariffs on roughly 90 countries. We have a list for you right here. Top Trump officials say they've heard from 70 of them trying to negotiate new trade deals with the United States. Now, in addition to China, the U.S. is slapping tariffs on U.S. allies as well, including Israel, Japan, and South Korea. Here's President Trump on the massive tariffs he levied on Beijing.
Additional tariffs on Chinese goods are in place effective midnight tonight at 104%. Until they make a deal with us, that's what it's going to be. I think they'll make a deal at some point. And don't let some of these politicians go around saying, you know, because I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my They are dying to make a deal. Please, please, sir, make a deal.
Chinese officials vow to fight to the end. Here's Caroline Leavitt at the White House yesterday.
China has to make a deal with the United States. It was a mistake for China to retaliate. The president, when America is punched, he punches back harder.
Now, things got a little sporty on Capitol Hill between Republican Senator Tom Tillis and President Trump's trade rep, Jamison Greer.
Whose throat do I get to choke if this proves to be wrong?
Well, Senator, you can certainly always talk to me, but
are you at the tip of the spear?
Well, I'm at the tip of the spear for certainly.
I'm just trying to answer a question that I have several people in North Carolina asking.
So the president, again, is the final decision maker on all of these things.
Now, Senator Tillis is up for re-election next year in North Carolina, a state President Trump won by only 51% of the vote, guys.
All right, Lucas, thank you very much.
Of course, you think of the farms when you think a lot about North Carolina. A little bit aggressive when he comes there. I thought that the trade rep was fantastic under pressure. He knew it was going to be a tough hearing yesterday. I thought he was fantastic. He was explaining it, and I think the strategy is becoming abundantly clear now. I thought the agricultural secretary last night said, basically, we're about ready to do some deals. Right. So we have the countries lined up. We already know essentially the fundamentals of their offer, from the EU to Vietnam to Cambodia to India. We're seeing Colombia, Turkey, Australia, Switzerland. They're all responding. Let's do a deal. They all are benefiting for us.
Yeah.
And when it happens, I could just see the market is dying for good news. Mm-hmm. You see it ticking up just on the rumors of good news. Yeah, well, all this could come back.
The president says, you know, this hasn't been balanced. It hasn't been free and fair trade. It's not fair to the United States. He says they're taking advantage of us. They're ripping us off, and they've left us for dead. If you look at some of the numbers, as far as China is concerned, U.S. exports $143.5 billion to China. U.S. imports $438.9 billion from China. So that's a deficit of $295.4 billion, leaving the United States, the president says, in the red.
Yeah. There's an item in the New York Post that we all have in front of us. It's an exclusive story, and it talks about how with these 104% tariffs that went into effect, you know, we think that China is going to have to pay for it, but it tells a story of a special needs toy importer. And when the tariffs went into effect at midnight, his tariff, he's been paying a tariff because he gets stuff from China, $26,000 a year. His tariff bill went from $26,000 at midnight to $346,000. And that's money he's going to have to come out of his pocket. It sounds like he's going to have to go ahead and close down part of his business. He tried to make the toys in the United States, but the tariff on that, his most popular item, went from $0 to $17 at midnight. And what he told the New York Post is people don't understand the tariff situation. They think just foreign countries are paying for the tariffs. That's not true. half of the tariffs are being paid for by U.S.-based companies.
Yeah.
So when you look at the big numbers and they look good, just remember that according to this guy, half of the small businesses and half of the tariffs are being paid by Americans.
Well, I'll say this. I'm still holding back judgment on this because I feel like we may be missing something here. And the way I look at it is I have two groups of friends. I have my more wealthy friends, the ones that are on Wall Street and all that. And then I have my friends that are in the farming community, middle class. They're cheering it on.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, my friends that are more rich and wealthy are ticked off.
Huh.
And so look, I watched the president yesterday, even with those miners yesterday, and they're cheering him on as well.
Sure.
I think the elites have gotten used to a certain lifestyle and what we're invested in the market and all that. But he's fighting for the little guy right now. So I think we may just want to hold on and see what happens. If they start to turn on it, then I think we have a different ball game
like
here.
Caroline said, he's going to punch back. And when China last week, when we have those reciprocal tariffs on them, then China puts reciprocal tariffs on us. So then on Monday, President said, okay, 50% more for you, China. Yeah, we're not playing this game. And they asked, what about China? He said, you know, they're proud people. So they want to negotiate. They're just not, we're working on that now. But and Jamison Greer yesterday, when he testified to the senators, he said, to your point, Steve, to your toy maker, it may be challenging at times and in a moment of drastic overdue change.
Well, the problem is, you know, like that guy in Idaho, he might have to go out of business.
Well,
and so that's why it's so important that
you reconfigure all the trade. Give you an example. What about the shrimping company? Yeah. Shrimp has gone out of business over New Orleans, famed Forrest Gump. They said this bayou town is now just went dead. They used to be able to walk from boat to boat to boat to boat. And they said, but now we get most of our shrimp from India, from Ecuador, from Indonesia and Vietnam. And now they're going to balance it out. We might be able to be the #1 purveyor of shrimp, at least to Americans, because of these tariffs. So there's different things that are going to happen. What he's trying to do is all at once. Some people would say, take 90 days and do it one by one. He's saying, let's just do it all at once. I got all your attention. I can't get the EU's attention. Now I got their attention. They wiped out all tariffs. And now we're going to start negotiating. So I think that people are not going to be remembering these 2 weeks if we can set up the next 20 years by reconfiguring trade and being smarter in the future.
I think Wall Street ultimately just needs to see, while the administration says, you know, 60, 70 countries want to do deals, as soon as they do a deal, that's going to just start it's going to open the floodgates. And then Wall Street, your elite friends are going to go, oh, thank goodness. Yeah. Now there's some relief in sight. So as soon as they do a deal, we just don't know when.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.